All right, mic check, mic check. Morning Masters Podcast, your host, made of course. Yo, another Thinking Out Loud. I don't know what number this is, but before I start, I want to say thank you to all the supporters, all the listeners, all the people who share my podcast, who talk about it, whether it's word of mouth, who snap me about it, who try to buy merch from me, even though I don't typically sell merch. Just shout out to everybody who support the podcast and support the movement and support everything I'm doing, and that give me the confidence to keep going and keep pushing. Cause this is definitely not an easy thing to do. Podcasting is definitely not an easy thing to do. So shout out to y'all, man. I can't do none of this stuff without y'all. So a lot of times when I win, I feel like we win. Anybody that support me, I feel like we win, and I celebrate all my small wins. On a weekly basis. Every time I put a podcast out, I celebrate all the small wins and even the lessons I learned from the podcast through the comments, through the shares, whether it's a lot of shares, lack of shares, a lot of feedback, lack of feedback. I take it all in stride, and I look at it as just learning tools to move on and get better and better each week, week in, week out. So with that being said, shout out to you guys, and I typically do Thinking Out Loud. I know that this has been something that people like because it's just me talking, and maybe you feel more close. Maybe you feel like you get to know me a little bit more. I'm doing something different right now, so I hope that the screen's not messing up, but I guess I'll see in due time. Maybe I can't see it, maybe I can. So with that being, that's for the YouTube listeners, by the way. So that's for the YouTube listeners. But with that being said, shout out to everybody supporting the podcast, all the listeners, all the supporters. Just shout out to y'all. I can't do none of this without y'all. So I always want to make sure I start off every Thinking Out Loud with thanking y'all. I said thinking, blah, blah, blah. I want to start off every Thinking Out Loud with thanking you guys out loud. So definitely going to do that. I want to get into a podcast I just did. I was just featured on my guy Kobe, cousin Kobe rather. I know him as Kobe, but cousin Kobe, a podcast, Free Game, the podcast is on Apple Podcast right now. You can go listen to it. He actually got a bunch of podcasts he's doing. He's kind of, he back. Like he said, he back. Kind of had a bit of a rough patch with some things he's been dealing with internally, life issues. Anybody that know him know his story. He was on my podcast last year. Very, very dope individual. But before I get into that, I want to talk about my last few episodes. So my last Thinking Out Loud I did, I got some of the most amazing feedback from that episode, man. Even no feedback from certain people was also telling. Like that was even dope. Like not in the sense of saying like, oh, you should give me feedback. You should give me feedback. No, I understood some people's lack of feedback or no feedback. Just understanding what we all going through and what something that I say mean to them, right? And one of the, not to call anybody out, but one of the dopest kind of feedback I got was from a guy named Wayman. I posted on my story. Anybody know my podcast? No, Wayman was on the podcast one time. One of my favorite episodes too, by the way. That's like a gem to me. I could watch the episode and I learned so much about Augusta. I always try to make sure I learn through people, and I try to do that with the podcast as well. So I'll put people on a podcast that normally you just walk past or walk by, or you probably wouldn't know they mean so much or they know so much about Augusta, and they get on this camera and they get on a microphone and they just start spilling out knowledge just through their history. They give you history through their history, and I just love it. But he hit me up, man. He's working with me, dope individual. One of my, I would say a mentor to me. What I do in real life right now, as far as managing and the level I'm at managing, I don't think I'll be where I'm at without somebody like Mr. Wayman. He just taught me a lot of hidden jewels type things. He would just say certain things, or I'm out there doing some kind of work and he'll take it from hey, you don't do this, you do XYZ, and make sure that person know, just free game. Honestly, just giving me game, man. And I definitely appreciate him to the fullest. I don't know if you know that, but he means so much to me. So shout out to you, Mr. Wayman. But he hit me up and he gave me some dope. It was funny, but it was some dope information. Just pretty much everybody go through it. Nobody got to figure it out, and it's okay to feel that way. And pretty much told me I'm here. I'm here. But he also gave me some music to listen to because everybody know I like to listen to music. So when I have a bad day, I throw on Anita Baker. That just, to me, that kills everything. And he know that. I don't know if you remember that, but he know that I'll play Anita Baker, and I'm either in a bad mood or I want to get in a good mood or something like that. But I'll play Anita Baker just to get through things. And he hit me up and he told me, listen to this song and listen to the lyrics, and they say this and they say that. So I thought that was dope because this is somebody who he don't have no social media to my knowledge to my knowledge now. But he chose to go. He subscribed to something, but he chose to watch my YouTube video that I didn't send to him. You know, I didn't send it to him. He texted me out the blue. I haven't spoken to him in like a month or two. He just called me, just texted me and said, "Hey man, just caught you thinking out loud," and da 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 da, and gave me the feedback. And it's like that's the moment you do this for. Like I didn't send it to him. I didn't tell him go look at it. I didn't text it to him. He just did it on the strength of his own. Like, oh, thinking out loud, let me listen to it, and boom. And that's another thing when I often go into. This is something I'm really big on right now. I'm pushing heavy is numbers. We get so caught up in numbers that numbers won't show you that. Like numbers won't show you that. I would never have guessed that this man that I look up to is watching my content or even keeping up with me in that way, and or that I could have had an impact on him, or even knowing he had an impact on me, that he's still watching and doing things like that of that nature. So that was dope because he could have watched it and just said, "Damn, I'm glad, I'm mad he feeling like that," and just went about his day. But he chose to reach out to me, chose to let me know, "Hey, I'm listening to your episode. I feel this way about it. You should feel this way about it. Do this in case if you need me, I'm here." And that's dope, man. So that's just a testament to how I treat people and just me. I don't know, just working hard. I hope that's a testament to that. He could have liked me. I'm a good guy. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Mr. Women for that. Also, my last episode, which I felt was super dope, by the way. I just felt it in the room, man. It's out right now on YouTube. It's the financial, what I call it? A financial coach or something like that. But it's Lacey Ado, man. Dope person. Been following her for about 3 years now, since probably 2019. She done made major headway in her business, but just financial literacy. I came in, I had questions, I had notes, and she pretty much pushed me to the side. Like, I don't need them. Like, let's talk. And I had to commend that because some people say they about their business, but they need to know the definition of this. Need to know this. She talked all that talk with no notes, just off the dome, straight knowledge, because she know it. And I always say that part because that part is important to me, because that tells me that she really, really knows what she's talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I think the episode was dope, and it can help everybody, especially with tax time coming up, and just people want to get their money right, and just to be financial literate. A lot of people don't know what certain things is, what certain things means, why their credit score matters, the three credit bureaus and things of that nature. Though we know a little bit, but we don't know that much. And for her to come on the podcast, give that game, be such a great speaker, tell her story, which I always wanted to get out. That first 20 minutes to me is so crucial because it brings you into who she is, first of all, and then let's get into what you do. And that's always my goal with More Than Masters. Like, as much as I want to promote people's businesses, promote what people got going on, promote people's just anything they got going on as far as inspirations or life adventures or ventures, I want to promote their character more than anything. Like, the character is super important to me. I'm a firm believer that when people buy into your character or buy into who you are, your personality, that's when they start to buy into the things you're doing, the things you're selling, the things you are promoting. I feel like you don't get that unless they bought into you. I feel like it's a new day and age. But before, we could buy into something and then we find out who the person is. But now it's like we live in a day and age where we got to buy into the person first, and then we go into what they got to offer us or promote to us, So shout out to her. She did a great job, man. I felt it in the room. Like, I honestly felt it so bad, so good that I went ahead and just edited right when she left. So like we did it Saturday, and honestly, I think it came out Saturday. I put a little clip out Sunday, but I made like 6-8 clips on Saturday, all sent to my phone, already dropped my Instagram, my story. I've been super consistent this week with posting it to Instagram, which I sometimes neglect, posting it to my story. I made some reels. They got some high views, so shout out to everybody for supporting the reels. Shout out to Kim Macon, who does Making a Difference podcast. Go check that out. Definitely, I'm always supporting people, but he hit me up and he was like, yo, man, make sure you work on your titling. So I'm definitely going to look into that, working on titles, whether I got to make them longer or what, but just to kind of engage audience. I've been lazy with it. I try to just put the shortest title, but sometimes a longer title might engage you. We have people on social media who like to read, so I'm just trying everything, man. I always appreciate all my supporters, like whether it's a fellow podcaster, somebody who's in this kind of field where we creating, or somebody who's not. Like, I want support, and I want to support everybody. So shout out to y'all. Before I get into what I really want to get into, I want to shout out to more people real quick. I'm sorry that I'm being long-winded. Hope I'm not killing nobody vibe. But I want to give a shout out to brother Trav. He hit me up yesterday and he sent me sent me one episode, but he said he got 2 episodes out. He got Hidden Gems. I want to get the title right because I listened to one of the episodes this morning. And before I give you the title, I want to say, first of all, it was a dope episode, right? And I'm thinking it's him alone, but it was him and his wife. And they went ahead and they reviewed some tracks off the Queen and Slim soundtrack, which I love the Queen and Slim movie. I got a Queen and Slim story too. Should I say that on this podcast? Probably not. But it's the track list of Queen and Slim. They talk about some songs and they played a few of them and they kind of went over some lyrics and talked about it in depth. And I had to drive the 8 in the morning to work, and I drove listened to it to work this morning. It kept me up, and it was really intriguing. I wasn't sure what to expect because he didn't give me no rundown of what the podcast was, what it was going to be about, none of that stuff. He didn't get none of that. But I went and listened to it and I thought it was dope. So shout out to him. The podcast is called Hidden Gems Focus Sessions. So FOCUS Focus Sessions, and FOCUS actually means something. I wish I would have wrote it down, but I didn't. And I did so much today. I've been up since 4 a.m. and it's 9:51 right now and I'm recording. So, and I got work tomorrow. So I'm just trying to get through this. And shout out to Kid Justice as well. He sent me a song on email yesterday, and that was dope as well. Listened to it twice this morning and one way home from work. So shout out to him and his mans. They did a great job on that track, and I'll hit you up later and tell you the same thing. So I'm gonna get into it real quick. So shout out to Kobe. I was on this podcast, Free Game the Podcast. That's the title, Free Game the Podcast, and I think it's titled Main the Master. He did spell my name wrong on the thing. He put Jermaine, and my name is Jermaine, but I wasn't tripping. Shout out to Kobe, that's my man. You know what I'm saying? But it's a few things that I've sent the podcast out, and I guess in talking sometimes you can either skip over questions or not fully answer questions. So it's a few things I had people send me back that they want more clarification on. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into that. In a means to promote the podcast. So I would love for y'all to watch this and go listen to the podcast on my YouTube channel. I would definitely put that podcast link in the description and the comments so you can go to listen to it on his page. But yeah, let's get straight into it, man. So I want to do this one first. All right, so it says I have plenty of questions. Okay. All right. It says a lot. Okay. It says, have you ever talked about why you decided to podcast? I did talk about that. But for the most part, it was something I seen that was being done on a high level where you didn't need a high level of education. I felt like it was something that could be done where you're buying your own equipment, and it could be done at a great level. So I did it that way. I will expound on it more in other podcasts. I'll send this person that particular podcast, but that was what it came down to. I was listening to a few podcasts at a time, Joe Budden and Tax Stone. Very heavy influences. I felt like they were regular guys just like me talking about things. And at the time where I was at, people would talk to me, even now to this day. And sometimes I might ask 4 or 5 questions, but I might get a whole story out of them just off them 4 or 5 questions. I felt like people started to open up to me because I listened. I talked, but listened. You know what I'm saying? So people, they talk to you just to respond, but I actually listened and I kind of asked probing and engaging questions. And I used to like the conversations I have with people. So that's kind of how I started that, man. It was no real major great story or nothing like that. It says, did you start podcasting with Augusta on your mind? Or was it just an idea? You had a podcasting first and then you found your niche after. So I had been doing media for a while anyway. Just little stuff here, like videos here, little 2-3 minute videos there. Just kind of always putting people on the forefront. So I did do it with wanting to branch where I'm from, blending it with Augusta on my mind. So I wouldn't say it was just solely for Augusta, but as I did it, I quickly found that it was a lot of platforms out, but I just felt like I had a different lane I wanted to do it. I wanted to focus solely on the artist or solely on the creator or solely on the businesswoman, businessman, and I wanted to focus on that. And I wanted to show people that Augusta was more than just a golf tournament every year because, like I said, I had no idea that this golf tournament was that big. I had been there maybe 4, 5, 6 years at this time, maybe 10 at this time. And like I said, the golf tournament meant nothing to me. And I wanted people to see that same thing, like it's more to Augusta than that. And that's why I'm used to painting these pictures of people from Augusta. So that's kind of how that happened. But yes, that was my niche. Um, what influenced your decision to stay in Augusta once you were an adult versus moving back to Brooklyn? Say you had actually gone back to Brooklyn, where do you think you'd be? Do you think Augusta has shaped you to be who you are in a way that Brooklyn might not have? So that's a deep question. That's a dope question, right? So my answer to that would be, ooh. So as an adult, I didn't move back to Brooklyn mainly because, of course, at the time I was in a relationship with somebody. That wasn't the sole reason though, but I was with somebody. I also had my little brother who was playing ball, and me and my brother got a tight bond. Anybody know me and my brother, we got a tight bond. And like I said, I looked at myself as, since I was 7 years old, and I'm not saying this to make myself seem like I was just better than I was, but since I was 7 years old, I was always told, you're the man of the house. So it's like, that was my family. So where I'm going, like my family's here. I'm a very family oriented person. It's just me, my mom, my brother, my sister. I got cousins and stuff that I look at as as tight knit family as well. But like that's just us in the household. That was all I knew. Like it was nothing else but that. I can't imagine having left them because I'm 18 because I want to run back to Brooklyn. In the same breath, the question was asked was, did I think Augusta shaped me in a way that Brooklyn might not have? And I love the way Brooklyn shaped and molded me. I don't agree with everything I did, all the choices I made, but it was made and things happened and things is done now. So I think Brooklyn shaped me in a way that it needed to shape me to get me prepared for everything I had to do in life. But Augusta definitely shaped and molded me to, like, I don't know, be more gentle, be more understanding. I grew up fast, but I think I matured a little bit more down here as far as understanding that everything don't got to be handled physically. You don't have to always put your hands on people. You know what I'm saying? Not that I always did that anyway, but that's the culture up there. It's just aggressiveness. I can say hi to somebody. Like, it's okay to have hospitality. It's okay to be nice. And that got me further. Like, just being mean. He asked me in the podcast like about smiling. And I was dead serious. I know people, I think I'm trying to dodge a question, but I was super serious. Like, I never smiled because it wasn't nothing to smile about when I was young. Like, to me, you know what I'm saying? I never had nothing to smile about. Always felt like I had to be on the standstill or the forefront because I'm protecting 3 other people: my mom, my brother, my sister. So that was always my thing with that. And I saw smile when I realized life was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? That's just a real thing. And Augusta showed me that. Augusta showed me beauty. It's beauty in New York. It's beauty in Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn to death. I'll never, ever, try to step on that. But at the end of the day, I learned so much about myself here as a grown-up that I probably wouldn't have learned in Brooklyn. I probably would have just been, a product of my environment. I could have been stuck in my ways. I was very smart. I was ahead of my class in school. I was a very smart person. Like I was what I was here. But the distractions and everything surrounding me and stuff like that could have definitely took a toll on me. So I definitely think coming down here made me have a nice reset, refresh, restart, whatever. And just look at life a little different. I looked at life, I was more appreciative, you know what I'm saying? Like, I came from this. I'm here now, living in the house, living in this. Just seeing different things, man. Augusta definitely shaped me and it showed me different than Brooklyn could ever show me. In Brooklyn, like, you stay where you at all day. Like, my block is my block. So I might have had a nice 6 block radius this way, that way, and front to back that I just frequented, and I felt so safe and comfortable. But to me, that's all I needed. Pizza shop, Chinese food, Puerto Rican food, Jamaican food. I never wanted to go to Queens, never had to go to Manhattan for nothing. Like, sneaker store, everything was there. So like, you can get so caught up in that, even though it's a big city, you can get caught up in that mind frame of it's just like, I'm here, I'm Brooklyn now, I don't want to go nowhere else. So then that was my mindset. I love my neighborhood to death. That's all I cared about. And that could have got me killed. That could have killed me. That could have killed my dreams. It could have shortened my lifespan. You know what I'm saying? A lot of my friends also at that age, where I could have came back and lived up north. A lot of my friends at that point was like in jail. None of them have really died at the time, but over time, like, a lot of them are deceased now, or they did 6-8 years in jail and they, working whatever they doing. So, but shout out to them for, getting that together. You talked about how you were influenced by the Breakfast Club and Joe Budden. Lots of people in Augusta would say that they are influenced by you. Do you do you take certain care or certain precautions you take or standards you set for your content because the influence you have? I definitely hold myself to a high standard, and I definitely see that I've made an impact on the creative side and just the media side of things in Augusta. So definitely I take in consideration that I don't just have anybody on the podcast, because I done built a core audience now to whereas people watch my podcast for a minute. I would read Lacey's message right now, but I don't want to get too caught off guard. I'm trying to go for over 30 minutes, but she sent messages pretty much saying like, yo, my pop said he listened to your podcast all the time, like 2 years ago, but he just fell off track. So it's just like irony that she was on a podcast. He watched it because she sent it to him. He's like, yo, I used to watch this dude podcast, listen to it, whatever. And that was dope. So like people look at me and they look at the podcast, the brand, as something that represents Augusta. So I have to really, really be careful who I choose to come on and paint that picture as if they represent Augusta. That's all it is. So I definitely do take, I got standards, and I definitely do take precaution of who I have on, because I got to make sure that I'm also responsible right now for showing the city in a certain light. So I got to make sure who I have on, it makes sense, and they putting on for the city in a certain light that I'm okay with. So this is my baby, you know what I'm saying? Go over your top 3 list again. Do you have your top 3 versus your top 3 interviews that got the biggest reach? Ooh. That'd be a different Thinking Out Loud, but I definitely want to get into that. That top 3 was so off guard that my top 3 could change day by day, because I just mentioned Wayman. That's a top podcast for me. Wayman episode is a top podcast for me. Top. The Bianca is a top podcast for me. Both Bianca Garnett and the lawyer. So Tyrus Tim was still a top one for me. So yeah, it's different. It's definitely levels to it. So I would have to go through my catalog and see. But honestly, I like that my top 3 can change. That just it just shows me I got range. And I'm not saying that I like this, I like that, just to say people names and just to, put it out there. I really don't know what my top 3 is, because my Uncle Carl is also a top 3. His son Messiah is a top 3 for me. I did 2 with him, and I talked with my cousin Messiah. He's near and dear to me. We talked about his life about 2 hours, and he had a rough life. He didn't have it. It was a rough life. That's all audio though. So I would have to break it down in era, which is the all audio era and the video era, because people don't know this, and I ain't gonna get too much into this, but these podcasts, to me, I say era because I have to treat them differently. The media side of it, like, so I'm doing the video, the lights, the camera, the action. That's a whole different feel than me just sitting, vibing for 25 minutes, 30 minutes and saying, let's record. And there's no cameras in here, so you just feel free. Versus you being on camera, and you got to kind of be in character, make sure your hair is right, make sure your face is right, make sure you're making the right facial expressions and things of that nature. So you get different forms of people when them lights and cameras actions on too. So that's something that I didn't say in there. Okay, so new one. It says I got 12 minutes left. This is interesting and nice to know these things about you. I like the questions I'm hearing now. Those 4 pieces of advice were interesting, but I think you had clips on that of some sort before. So how do you want to be like your dad but not be like your dad? So I know that was a deep one. Like I said, when he asked me the question originally, I thought he meant like when I was younger, who I would have said I wanted to be like. So I said my dad. And then he asked me, I don't want to end up like, and I said my dad. Because I'm answering a question from 2 different standstills. A question from me having the wherewithal to know things and knowing what I know, and then the kid like me of what I want to be when I get older. Because he said when I grow up. So it kind of threw me off. And when I was younger, I love my dad to death. My thoughts of my dad when I was younger versus now are definitely different. I still love him the same, but my thoughts are different, mainly because I'm a dad. Probably it could be that. It could just be things that transpire. And sometimes when you don't think about certain things, you don't know things affect you. So me getting older and starting thinking about certain things, it started to affect me, and it started to, and then things happen. Life happens. You know what I'm saying? So, but shout out to him. When I say I want to end up like my dad, I'm just, I be fearful of ending up, and I could end up like him because we so much alike, but I'd be so fearful of ending up, not necessarily alone, but I'm fearful of hitting a point in life where I want to get so many things done, and I feel like my dad has so many goals, so many great ideas that he used to talk about, and I felt like he didn't hit none of them, like zero. Just the small things, moving here, getting his own apartment. He did it later on in life, but not when he wanted to do it, and not when it would have benefited the things that we had, the conversation that we had. I felt like I thought we had a great relationship when I was really, really young, and yeah. So when I say that, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have. I like the bond I have with my kids now. I don't want that to ever loosen at all. Like under no circumstance, I want it to just get stronger. So I can mean that when I'm saying like my dad. And just really like right now, I feel like he just in a lost place in life. He just kind of just here, but not really moving, like a treadmill type thing. And I don't want to do that. I want to have my life to have purpose. I want to have a purposeful life. I'm not saying his life don't have purpose, but me and him talked in the past, and just the conversation we had, I want to have them conversations, all them thoughts. And at the end of the day, like I said, my dad went through a traumatic experience for a little while, and that also plays a role and a factor, and it plays a big part of my life. My dad played a big part in me coming down here. So, and I ain't gonna get into all that, but like, yeah, so that's what I mean by that. But shout out to my dad, man. Shout out to my pops. I ain't gonna go too much longer. I wanted to say this, man. Shout out to everybody to support the podcast. Please go listen to the podcast on Apple Music, free game, the podcast, my episode. Go check it out. It's in the comments here. This is the shirt he made, the black on black real entrepreneur stepper. Hold on, let me move the microphone. Feel me? It got something in the back too. It says "Say No to Average," and that's his old brand. I don't know if he's still pushing that, but we still pushing that, definitely. Say No to Average. More Than Masters podcast, your host, mate, of course. Go check the episode out. Another Thinking Out Loud. Hopefully y'all love this. And, man, thank y'all. I can't thank y'all enough, man. Shout out to y'all.